Coming up on the first episode of Smart Tech Today, Matthew Cassinelli introduces himself and tells you all about his automation magic. We also talk about all those things that Amazon announced at its event because they all involve smart tech, as well as a little bit of information about the future of voice assistants and so much more. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss it.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by FreshBooks, the #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. Make the running of your business easier and more efficient with FreshBooks. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/STT. Hey, welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, dynamic, and sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I'm Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Matthew Cassinelli.
And we are excited to launch off our first episode of Smart Tech Today.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Matthew, you're here with me in the studio, which we thank you for coming up from that other place that you live during the week. Not passing that information out there. We do appreciate you making the drive up, and we are excited to kick off the first episode. But before we do that, I think it's important that, as a new person to the Twit crew, as a contributor and my co-host here on the show, why don't we tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I like long walks on the beach. No, I think the easiest way to think of it is a Siri Shortcuts expert. I don't like calling myself that, but it is definitely one of the main things. I previously worked at the Workflow app, and so I helped teach people how Workflow worked before we were acquired by Apple. And then after that, I ended up leaving after my contract and then went out on my own to help people learn about Siri Shortcuts because it's a brand new app for most people, and it's pretty complex, but there's a lot to learn, and I think it's going to be really exciting to teach people about all of this. I've always grown up with technology, and I started out in the Windows realm and with an Android phone, and then slowly made my way over to iPhone. But now that I've been in the smart tech space for a little bit, I've been learning all about Google Home and Alexa type products, Amazon Echo, I should say, so we don't trigger it too much. But that's sort of my main thing, is just kind of helping people understand technology in 2019, because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's tons of information, but there's tons that's changing all the time. And I'm super excited to help people learn along the way.
That's excellent. And, one of the things that we kind of talked about in the trailer for the show, or the episode 0 for the show, is that you have a person who has long been a fan and became an expert in smart home stuff and the tech that surrounds that. And you have a person who understands automation to its core. And when you take that and you put those things together, that's what kind of makes this show, I feel, a success, because we're going to be able to approach it from two areas with this expert level. And so I was pumped from the beginning to get you on the show as my co-host, and I'm glad that you accepted, that you said yes.
Yes, I'm super busy now. But yeah, I'm super glad to be here too. It's going to be exciting, and especially I think it's a good time because it seems like in the past some Internet of Things stuff might be like expensive or like a test of the vision, and now I think we're really seeing like full steam ahead sort of thing. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. And, earlier you did say a certain word that we are going to try to not say on this show. And I want to put that out there to the listeners right now. You should feel safe keeping your Echo devices, your Google Home hubs, your Google Home husbands, your Google Home whatevers, all turned on, your Home Pods, your thises, your that's. All of those can remain on because we're going to do a good job. In fact, our TD, Kevin, is taking notes to make sure that we bleep out all actual uses of those words. Now, with that, Matthew and I thought that we'd start the show by trying to come up with some nicknames for the major smart assistants. Mm-hmm. So we've got Siri, we've got Alexa, and we've got Google. And so we thought we would talk about these assistants with unique names. So I'm wondering, Matthew, I think that you should definitely come up with our nickname for SIRI. Mm-hmm. What are some ideas that you've thrown around?
I mean, I don't want to theme it too shortcuts-y, but something like Hey Shortcuts could be a close one. Mm-hmm. Other ones that I do love from other podcasts that I listen to are like Hey Dingus, or I think people refer to the lady in the tube as a way to say it.
I don't know how I feel about that one. Yeah, that one's a little bit. I kind of like Hey Shortcuts. It's far enough away that it's not anything too specific, and as people continue to watch the show, I think that they're gonna get it. And by the way, to those of you who are in our standard chat, we are indeed looking there as well. So hello to you, chat. So yeah, all right. Let's go with shortcuts for now. But I think we'll put out to the audience.
Sure.
Hey, folks, if you have some ideas for names for the different smart assistants, then we'll go with that.
What do you think about Google?
Google. Okay, so you gave me that one. Google is actually a pretty smart assistant. And has done a good job with its search functionality. But I think that it's just hilarious to call it Google. So, hey, Google, sounds fun.
I like that.
And it's not going to, but it might still trigger if you think about it.
That'd be a good test of their voice recognition.
Oh, we're testing you, Google.
Got to take it seriously.
I know. I got that. I like Goo Goo. Hey, Goo Goo.
It might be hard to say that with a straight face regularly for the next.
But we don't have to worry
once
about the
a
straight
week.
face.
Good point.
All right, let's go with Goo Goo for now. That's Hey Goo Goo. And now we need one for Amazon. The one, see, and we should talk about this too. That's the one that has the biggest issue with SIRI and with Goo Goo. We don't have that issue as much of triggering those accidentally because Apple and Google have done a fine job of
you can still say the name and it doesn't immediately trigger it. But that's why every time I'll pause and think Amazon Echo, right? Yeah, I was going to say Hey Computer, but that's still technically the second word there you can use as a wake word for your Echo devices. What about Hey Bezos?
I love it. I'm sold. I was sold yesterday on that one. That's great. Hey Bezos. So if anybody doesn't know, except I can't spell that, Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon, founder of Amazon as well, right? And he is just a mastermind, I think. And that's great. So
totally ripped now too.
Oh, yeah.
That photo of him walking like the Terminator back with the shades.
Yes, he's kind of scary. So maybe you don't want to call Bezos into your room. But I like that. So we got Bezos, Goo Goo, and shortcuts for now. But those could change. Listeners, again, we are happy to hear your thoughts on what we should call the voice assistants. But just know that we will make sure to bleep out all occurrences so that way you are not worried about it triggering your devices as we talk about all these different things. Why don't we go ahead and kick the show actually off?
Sure.
We have this great setup that we think you're all going to love, where the point of the show is to kind of explore the world that is the Internet of Things and the connectivity there. And so we want to start by giving you some of the latest updates and new products and events that have taken place and new functionality. And then we will talk to people and experts in the field, as well as mention some of the projects that we're working on before we round things out with our picks of the week and questions and feedbacks from listeners, tips, etc. So you can count on us providing you with the news you need to know about smart tech. And I feel like the most recent thing that happened that's really got a lot of smart tech involved is Amazon's recent event.
Yes. Bezos threw out a ton of different products there, and it's pretty interesting. They've been doing this for, it seems like every event there's like 15 new Echo devices to keep track of, but they definitely are pushing it again this year, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about it is that we had the situation where you could easily see that Amazon is paying attention to how its customers use its products. That where some companies will sort of say, this is what you need, and we'll convince you to buy it. It was like, we'll put out these products and we'll test how you use them and we'll pay attention to it, and then we will iterate on those designs. And the perfect example to me was the Echo Dot with the clock built in.
Yeah.
Turns out that people say, hey, Bezos, what time is it, to the Echo Dot more than any other thing.
I didn't catch that part, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so like, why don't we put a clock in it?
Yeah, and it's good, especially like on the your side table next to your bed too. It's kind of like nobody actually has alarm clocks anymore because you have your phone,
right.
But also, you don't always want to check your phone first thing in the morning, because I definitely do that.
Yeah.
Immediately end up on Twitter or something.
Or if I wake up in the middle of the night and I look at my phone to see the time, and then I'm on my phone for the next, because if that phone unlocks, my butt is going to be scrolling through Instagram and Twitter and all of these different things. And I can't, you know what? I want to have self-control, Matthew, but there's no self-control at 2 a.m. when you wake up, and you just have to.
I don't think I saw, how does this light up at night? Did you check on that?
So I don't have one of these yet, but I'm actually planning on buying one just for myself because I think that it's great. But it's my understanding that it is ambient detection. So the LED is not going to be as bright when it's dark as it would be during the day. And I don't know this yet, but we'll see. It might even turn all the way off unless you like tap on it or something like that. I think that Amazon is doing a good job of trying to make its voice assistant, Bezos, available in as many places as it possibly can, so that you can have like a whole swath of control options throughout your home. Because I don't know about you, but one of the things that is an issue for me is trying to figure out, if I'm in a room and I don't have a device in there that I can use to control things, then what do I do? Do I just go to the other room? Do I shout?
You feel like hope, or just like kind of aimless, especially when you visit somebody's house and you just like walk into their room and reflexively you want to be like, hey, Bezos, what time is it or something? And it's like, I don't actually have one of those, so I don't know who you're talking to right now.
You're not talking. I love the idea of walking into someone else's home and being like, hey, Goo. And they're like, what are you doing right now? Why are you shouting in my house? Can you leave? And it's like, oh, right. Sorry. Not everybody has these devices. And so we are, I think, still sort of on the front end of voice OS being the way that we communicate, or the way that we control different aspects of our lives. But I think that these companies are really trying to push us toward that. And at the base of everything that Amazon has announced, it's all using their smart assistant as the starting point. And so they very much are paying attention to that in ways that I think other companies can't, because Google has so many more things to worry about.
Yeah. And Apple has to sell it to you for a couple $100.
Right. Apple has hardware it needs to worry about. And yes, technically this is hardware from Amazon, but what's the point of it? It's to access ALEXA and its other services. It is not, we don't sell this very expensive iPhone. They did not sell this to me so that I can talk to their voice assistant on it. It is made for the purpose of selling this hardware with the great camera, with this, that, the other. And so that's where I think that Amazon has a unique opportunity here, but they do it in some weird ways, right?
Yeah. I mean, specifically the Echo too is probably, it's hard to, I'm sure Apple would be like, our assistant is used on more devices, but I do think the Echo Dots being just the cheapest one brought it to like the most amount of people. I know that one of my cousins has one for each of her kids in their room so that they can all play their own music from the room and stuff like that. And so It is. I mean, is this like the 10th version of the Echo Dot at this point? I'm not even sure because it's been redesigned so many times, but it definitely does look a lot nicer.
Yeah, that's a good point. That you kind of, but I mean, again, this is the opportunity for the company to continue to iterate, and they have that ability to do so. Where, well, I shouldn't even call it ability. It's like they have so much money coming from stuff that they don't have to do much uptake on or work on, that they can focus on these different things. And like, well, yeah, we might not make much money back on this, but why not put it out there?
Yeah, I mean, I used mine the other day to order espresso beans, and I don't think I've really done that too much with my Echo stuff. And it was like, I was just standing there on Monday, ordered it, and then Wednesday it like showed up, and I was like, that was pretty cool, I guess.
Hey,
maybe I should have tried this a little sooner, button. But yeah.
Speaking of sort of whole home access,
yeah.
I think one of the most interesting products that they announced there was the Echo Flex.
Okay.
The Echo Flex is this tiny little white square type thing that you plug into a wall, and it will let you connect to Echo, lets you communicate with their voice assistant, rather, with Bezos. And the idea is that you at $25, and I can't remember if that's the introductory price or if it's going to stay that way, but you have it in all of your rooms. You easily can get, 6 of them, and then you have them in all your rooms, and you're able to control your devices or communicate. And I like the modularity of it.
So they have a microphone and just like pretty tiny speakers. So it's not like a
You won't be listening
outlet.
to Beyonce's latest album on it and be
You
happy,
definitely won't.
at least. Right, exactly. Yeah.
But it's kind of like putting Bezos in each one of your rooms so that you can quickly access it and you're not yelling across the house. Because that's definitely one thing that I think for people who have a HomePod, it can kind of reach across the house and you don't need to yell as much. But I do find myself, I'll say, raising my voice to Alexa. Oh, got one of the triggers in there.
Yeah.
But that I think it does. It's just kind of like ubiquitous access to it, and that will start proving a lot more, especially if you have smart lights around the house, as you want the ability to just trigger them for wherever you are and not have to go back to the other room. But you were referencing that they have attachments, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and it seems like Amazon is really trying, well, it doesn't seem like it is. Amazon is opening up that the process to different companies who want to make these additions to the Echo Flex. So an example is a motion sensor. And that's honestly, I found one of the best ways for me to use smart lights in my home. I don't have to do anything. It just,
that's good.
And this is in transitional spaces, particularly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't have any of those, but I feel like I should.
My hallway is, and I should note, I don't have it set up right now, but in the last place I lived, well, actually in the last 2 places that I've lived, in my hallways, I would always use some Philips Hue lights and a Philips Hue motion sensor. And how it worked was it would see me. That's a great thing. The Philips Hue motion sensor is my favorite product that Philips Hue makes because it is fantastic at motion sensing. It is super responsive, and it works as a HomeKit device. So you can use that super responsive motion sensing for all sorts of things.
Ooh.
It also has an ambient light sensor built into it that you can pull from, and temperature,
wow.
which people...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, people don't know that. They just included these things. Why not?
Yeah,
and then
makes
you
sense.
end up being able to use them. It is... I can't say enough. I think I wrote a whole article when I worked at iMore about just that, like my love letter to the Philips Hue motion sensor.
I might order one and after this now.
Give it a try.
That is awesome.
So it was in my hallway, and I had it set up to where if it sees you, then if the light level in the hallway was low enough, aka if the sun wasn't up in the sky, then between like normal hours before bedtime, the light would turn on at full blush, and then I think it was like after 15 seconds of no motion, then it would dim and then turn off.
Oh, nice.
And so I never had a situation where when I was walking through the hallway, I needed to flip a switch because it was always there, and it never triggered at a place when I didn't need the light. Yeah. But what's even better is that after a certain hour, it would only come on at a night light level.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And so you wouldn't wake anybody up. It was great. And so that's why I love motion sensors. I think that they provide so much hands-off control for the smart home.
That's what's so, I mean, even already, that's what so much of the smart home stuff does for you, is you just don't think about it anymore. Or maybe you say something out loud, but you don't have to go find your phone or do all this fancy stuff. It can just like those levels of doing simple tasks like turning on the hallway lights is like, now you never have to do that again, and you can just do something else with your life. So that's perfect. I'm interested in the Echo Flex though, because I'm trying to figure out how expensive are those Hue sensors, because
I think they're $25.
Okay, that makes sense. But
I think
having it flexible like that is cool. That is a nice, like, hardware companies can make add-ons to it, and it doesn't have to be its own smart product in its own, because sometimes those are like, if you make something smart that doesn't really need to be and just needs to be flipped on, it can kind of be a little much to end up having like a whole smart fridge, or I don't know, maybe the fridge is not a great example, but it's definitely nice to like extend that system. And I wish it was easier for people to integrate with something like Google Home or Siri.
Yeah. So I don't know if the price has gone up. It's $40. I don't remember it being $40 before, but they're currently sold out on Amazon, which I've found in the smart home realm typically means that a new version is coming out, or they are sort of pivoting to a different one.
They saw this and then just called it up, and they were like, we're done. Amazon beat us now.
So yeah, this again is kind of talking, I think, more about putting our voice assistants everywhere. And sometimes that means on your face, and sometimes that means on your hand too.
Yeah, those are interesting new ones. The Echo Frames and the Echo Loop are brand new products that one is Google Glass, but not, which is good, because the first time I saw the frames, I was like, those just look like glasses. That's actually pretty smart.
You want to hear that.
Yeah.
Those just look like glasses.
But I did see the Verge did a video on the Echo Loop, and when he presses the button and then holds his hand up to his ear to talk on the phone, I did laugh a little bit, because it's very like Secret Spy, but also pretty obvious what you're doing and stuff like that. But they're very interesting products.
I find all of this stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think that, anybody who's a little bit of a nerd does find these things fascinating. But I agree, it's a little silly. It's not.
Yeah, I could see where it could work. And I mean, I guess also just a big thing with smart tech and any new product is when it first comes out, it looks like a toy and people dismiss it. And then they start to realize how it can actually be beneficial. And it does take a few years or maybe a product iteration or two, but it ends up having its own use case that does make sense. So the Ring thing could be interesting.
I love what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, let's just reiterate that point. You have this issue with new technology where people don't necessarily take it seriously, where it's considered a toy, where it's considered unnecessary. And then at some point, as we realize the usefulness, and as we see companies continue to experiment to try to make it more useful, then it becomes something that we use all the time, that we can't live without, that we, has been integrated into our daily life. And I think, and for those listening, I'm pulling back my sleeve now and I'm looking at my watch. There was a time where I thought the Apple Watch was a silly thing. Of course, I had one with Series 0, but a lot of people kind of were like, do we really need this? It's not, what is it, Dick Tracy? Like,
strap a computer to your wrist kind of thing.
Right, strap a computer. And now I love this thing and all that it provides for me. And my mom, I feel like everybody uses their mom as kind of like, but she's pretty cool, so maybe it's not a good example. But my mom loves her Apple Watch. In fact, when she upgraded phones, she was very distraught because for a whole day, she didn't know how. I wasn't able to help her for a whole day to get her watch set up with her new phone. And she was like, I don't have all of my notifications on my watch. What's going on? They love them. And I love mine, and it's great. And so I think that the same thing can apply here. I mean, and that's why I really feel like this podcast this is the time to launch this show because there was a time too when the Amazon Echo was a toy for nerds, and it is slowly but surely becoming this device that we see a lot more people using, like more so than anything else, gadgety wise. And I mean gadgety wise, like outside of smartphones. I mean stuff you have in your house that are gadgets and gizmos. More so than anything else, I can walk into someone's home who does not have, I don't know, like a Twitter account and a podcast of some sort, and they will have an Echo. You know what I mean? Like those are everyday products now.
Exactly.
And so Amazon has done a good job with that, I think, of showing how these are for the every person. And with the frames in the loop, it's important to note too that those products are invitation only. They're just trying these things, they're experimenting with it, and they're not necessarily, something that everybody would use. Now, before we move on, because we're going to talk about everybody having earbuds and sort of the future of that whole thing, I want to talk about the smart oven because this I found fascinating. Oh yeah, and we do need to talk about the Echo Studio as well. So we'll hit these two topics right quick. But the smart oven. So Amazon has announced a new smart oven. It's $250, and when you order it, it comes with an Echo Dot. It itself does not do communication. You use the included Echo Dot to communicate with it. Now, my thinking is that this is because microwaves run on the 2.4 gigahertz, or they interfere with the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And so by having an Echo Dot separate, then it can communicate with the microwave properly and make sure that it's working.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, this smart oven, it's called that because it's not just an oven. It's not just a microwave. It's an air fryer. It's a food warmer, whatever that is. I'm a food warmer. If I put my hand on something for long enough, it's going to warm up. It's a 4-in-1 convection oven. It's all of those things. But here's what I find fascinating, and I'm curious about your take on this, Matthew. Sure. So Amazon made a microwave. They announced it at their last devices event, and it had ALEXA. It had Bezos built in. Oh, see, that sounds even better. Bezos built in.
That's good.
And there are probably some people out there who are like, yeah, build Bezos in my microwave. Anyway, and people were laughing about that. It ended up being the most popular microwave oven on Amazon's site. Now, folks, you didn't see this. You didn't see it because you're listening. But Matthew just did a big old shrug, and I think I know why. Matthew, why'd you just do a big old shrug?
I was just going to say that microwaves were bad generally. Like I bought a what was intended to be a smaller microwave recently, and I didn't really realize that just meant it was extremely underpowered. And so our food just takes like twice as long to cook now. I was making that face because I thought you had said that you thought the smart oven was silly at first. Oh, but I do think, I mean, it's sort of in competition with the June oven, which is the first like main tech company that came out with a product like this. I think that one was like $1,000 or something like that. So I do think when the scale of price to value, or like some sort of formula with like how normal it is in there, that product was like completely off the charts. It seemed a little ridiculous, but I think a smart oven like this, I mean, I would buy something like this, especially depending on space and things like that, because that can really like expand your kitchen capabilities. Right.
So I know what you're referencing because I think it's whenever you actually, maybe I sent it to you or you sent it to me or something, and I did poo-poo it. What I thought you were shrugging your shoulder about was because the argument that people gave was that the reason that the last microwave was the most popular microwave oven on Amazon was because Amazon had the ability to promote it in front of
during
people.
Like Prime Day or something.
Yeah, and even not on Prime Day. If someone goes to Amazon and types in microwave, then it might be that the Amazon microwave is the first one that shows up. It was a fine microwave. It was a little small, but it was a fine microwave. And so that very well may be why it was the most popular microwave, not because it had its smart assistant built in. But as far as this goes, after poo-pooing it with you in conversation, I went back to look at this thing and saw all the cool things that it can do. And I have not pre-ordered it. It comes out on November 14th, but I have been thinking about pre-ordering it because, again, it's what I love is first of all, I order a lot of my groceries from Whole Foods.
Oh yeah.
Because I can get them delivered to me, and that way I don't have to go to a grocery store or whatever. Yeah. And they have integrations with Whole Foods where you sort of scan the item, and then it will cook it properly. I think that's neat.
Yeah, those are. I think this stuff is amazing. When I was a kid, I would always ask my parents. I would be like, "How long do you microwave a hot dog?" And just like random stuff that, for whatever reason, I don't think I ever even bothered to learn. Actually, now that I think about it, if you use this, you won't actually learn because you'll just tell Bezos to do it.
I don't know. Bezos is going to take care of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, oh no. So this isn't teaching a man to fish. This is not teaching a man to cook a fish.
Yeah, but as long as the man's doing the one cooking and not leaving it to a woman or something, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Let the man cook. Dang it.
I guess it is. The Amazon Echo Assistant is a woman. So
oh dear, that's true.
Got to change the voice there.
We got to change it to Bezos or Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
So speaking of this, they say it's large enough to cook a 5-pound chicken. There was this reality TV show way back in the day, a horrible, stupid, horrible, brain-rotting show. But I remember watching it, and on it, it was one of those like dating shows.
Yeah.
And on it, this young woman was, they were all tasked with like making a family dinner. Mm-hmm. And she tried to make the chicken in the microwave. So she put raw chicken into the microwave and tried to make the chicken. And obviously that was a horrible thing and it could have been a whole health issue.
I was going to say.
It was bad. And so I like the idea of people who may not know what they're supposed to do with food. The thing that I love about this is that I can say, hey, Alexa, hey, Bezos, I want to make a chicken, and then I can put a temperature probe in it that comes with it, and it will properly cook it. Yeah. And I know that it's good, or I know that it's properly cooked. I know that kind of thing. Or if I want to make, a certain dish that involves parts that need to be warmed up, I think that's great that option is available. So there's some smartness here that I really appreciate that make me interested in this product, particularly the fact that it's not just a microwave. It's also an air fryer, a 4-in-1 convection oven, and as I said, like me, a food warmer. So that makes me interested in it and the idea of this, that we can have these different devices.
Yeah. I mean, you need to eat 3 times a day, and that is
don't get me started on
that. It's the worst. I got to eat again. I swear I just did this.
Right.
And making that smoother in your daily life is like an amazing, once you have like a whole meal planning system down or something like that, that is like when you don't have those things, you end up day to day being like, what do I eat now? I'll just go buy something. And seamlessness there goes a long way too.
I agree.
I am curious. It is like, it's an interesting, the price is, I feel like it's good for the product, but it's still expensive enough that it's not like, I'll just go pick up a smart oven. Right. And I think it is like, that's one that consumer behavior will need to change a little bit too, because people aren't used to that.
Let me see. I'm trying to remember how much I paid for my microwave that the wire cutter recommended for me.
I really hope it does the Spy Kids thing where you put in a mini pizza, close it, and then out pops a full pizza.
Oh, yes. Please. I think
you can have it with your alcohol pods that they have now. What is that company?
Yeah, you saw that. Was it whiskey?
Yeah, it's whiskey, like basically Tide Pods that you just eat.
Tide Pods.
That's a whole.
That's a whole other.
Not the smart
is that
tech
smart?
we like.
I don't know if that's smart. I think that makes you dumb, but. Yeah, so you're right. A really good microwave recommended by the wire cutter costs $120, which they aren't recommending the microwave that I got anymore. So that's cool.
That's still only a microwave.
But anyway, $120 for a microwave as opposed to this $250 machine. However, that's just a microwave oven. Mm-hmm. This other thing is also, again, all of those other things as well. So anyway, I think it's fascinating. And we will be back in a second to talk about everyone having earbuds and what that means for our future and voice AI voice operating systems in general. But first, I want to tell you all about FreshBooks, because I am happy to say our pals at FreshBooks said, oh, Smart Tech Today? I'd love to be a part of that. So thank you, FreshBooks, for bringing all of us this first episode of Smart Tech Today. It's the #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. FreshBooks takes the stress out of accounting for you and your business with easy-to-use billing, expense organization, and time tracking, and it's all at your fingertips. If you're self-employed or you're stuck in the old days of manual invoicing, you have got to stop wasting time. FreshBooks, it gives you billable hours and expenses that are automatically added to invoices. And easy invoicing means more time to grow your clients' list. You can serve them better and you can share in their success. Do you have a team that you need to keep on track? Well, you can collaborate with your team on one platform. And here is what's super cool. You can utilize specific team members by assigning them to what's called the manager role. This feature allows your second in command to manage projects, billing, and other team members more effectively in a single tool, letting you get to the work only you can do. If you're always on the go, well, FreshBooks has you covered. You download the super easy to use app and always have your business with you. Snap a picture of the receipt, respond to clients from wherever you are. You never miss an update. FreshBooks lets you stay in sync across the desktop and mobile app, so you can work on whichever device you prefer without missing any important information. That's so nice to be on the go and switch from my MacBook to my mobile device so easily, and then back and forth. It's all synced. It's all there. FreshBooks is used and trusted by small business owners in over 120 countries. With customer service via phone, email, and live chat, you're able to get a quick response to your questions. Make the running of your business easier and more efficient with FreshBooks. You visit freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today in the How Did You Hear About Us section to receive 30 days free. Please do that. Let FreshBooks know that they made the right choice. Go to freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today in the How Did You Hear About Us section. You will receive 30 days free. Thank you so much, FreshBooks, for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today.
I was going to say thank you, FreshBooks, also for being the tool that I've always used, because I've always started out with FreshBooks, and I feel like I'm spoiled because I don't know the horrors of not using it.
Oh,
so
wow. Yeah.
that has helped me in my independent business.
You went for the gold standard immediately, and you just kind of have to chuckle at all those other people who were like, oh, I'm going to try something else first. Yeah. Well, that is excellent. All right. Matthew, do you think we are near a future where we are talking to our voice assistants at all times, or at least that they're available to us at all times and everybody's using them?
So that's a multi-part. I was going to say yes until you said, and everybody's using them. Because that's
the important
I feel
part.
like that's the difference right now. I think that's something that's understated from Shortcuts that just got released. All of your Siri Shortcuts stuff can work via voice, and a lot of the Echo stuff and Google stuff has already kind of been there. Apple is actually catching up a little bit there, but I'd say we're pretty close. I think a lot of the skills that we need to use in order, like the literal tools that the assistants provide, need to get better. But I think we're at the point where kind of even like using voice that we were saying earlier is past the toy phase, I would say, and is already starting to get into the real uses. Because I always somewhat oddly observe my friends using technology, and I just noticed that one of my friends was like regularly using Siri to send a message to somebody just because it was that much faster than typing it out on her phone.
Now, hold on. I want to pause you there. When you say that, what do you mean? Do you mean like from the get-go, hey, boo-boo, will you send this message and then say, or is it just that they hit the dictation button?
Yeah, I was, using this side button to trigger it. So not necessarily all voice, but still just like triggering it without having to use the wake words. So it's like,
send a message to Matthew Cassinelli. Hey, comma, how is your day going? Question mark.
Yeah, do you not do that?
No.
I was going to say that's
your message. Ready to send it?
Yes.
How do you not do this? This is like
Okay,
that's like one of the best ones. Oh man.
Well, so I know it's a thing to do. I know that people do it. I don't ever do that. At most, I use dictation. I'm a control freak, Matthew, and I can't let even a voice assistant do my job for me. But you're going to help me with that.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to teach you.
Yeah, because that is not something. No, I would swipe up, I would launch my messages app, and then if I was in a place where I could not type, then I would use dictation. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't even, if I'm in a place where I don't need dictation or I'm not feeling lazy, then I'm going to type it out. Although most of the time I just use voice memos.
I was going to say, the lazy comment is an interesting thing because I think a lot of people do feel lazy because they use voice technology. And it's like, why don't I just go over and turn off the lamp? I don't have to be lazy to do that. But I don't think, I mean, first of all, like, be good to yourself. You're not lazy.
You heard that. Preach it. You out
channeling
there.
Lizzo up here. No.
Yeah, exactly. You're not lazy. Be good to yourself.
And it's still like, why should you do something that a computer could easily do for you? And you're almost like wasting time not using it. But I think
but I could build a computer that pets my dogs for me, and I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, but you want to pet the dogs.
Oh, I see. Okay, but I don't necessarily want to get it. Okay, that makes sense.
I think especially that does become like a quick convenience thing because even what we were referencing before is once you're done messaging someone, what are the chances that you open up Instagram and then get distracted from it?
I didn't open, well, A, because I'm doing a show right now, but B, you're right. If I do that, then oh my God, that could save me time.
That is like, I mean, there's also the general criticism of like using more technology to use your other technology less. Like that's what people made fun of the Apple Watch for a little bit because it was like, now it's my phone's less distracting. It's like, oh, just be less distracted or something like that.
You know what? But that is a bunch of hogwash because I understand that for some folks, that's a thing that they can say and that's a thing they can hold to. But I bet we could find one or two things where they may not have that self-control or what have, like, it's so complicated and there are many things that go into that. And I think that we should not shame ourselves for finding new ways to be better versions of ourselves, even if that means like using Do Not Disturb while driving, for example. Yes, I could, through some effort of strength and will that I don't necessarily need to put that energy into because I have other more important things to do, could probably do a fine job after some time of not texting or responding to messages when my car is in motion. But by using Do Not Disturb while driving, I don't even have to worry about it in the first place because it's not the message that's the issue. It's that when it pops up on my phone, then suddenly my brain goes, there's something that you're not addressing. And then it's all I can think about. There's something that you're not addressing. There's something that you need to pay attention to. And then it's hard to shut that down and say, no, you don't need to worry about that right now.
No, it's the 1,000-ton cars flying at you on the road next to you.
And so by having that setting turned on, then I don't have that happen in the first place. So there's no situation of me going, there's something that you're not, paying attention to. And so I like this idea of letting our technology, why else have you bought this expensive computer or expensive iPad or expensive phone or whatever, and these speakers that you're putting in your homes? Like, why are you buying these except to make your job easier? Or make your life easier so that you can focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on.
I think there's so much too that when we are using this stuff all day long, like your phone, and you never get off it or something, it is reducing each thing that you do by 1 to 4 steps suddenly means that instead of doing 4,000 things a day, you're doing 2,000 and you're making so many less choices. And I mean, the old name for Shortcuts, workflow, was a great like vibe of what you're trying to do. Is you want to have that flow where you don't need to go find your phone, pick it up, send the text or something like that. You just shout it out loud to your home device, whichever one you choose, and then sends it off. And I mean, especially the earbuds part are a whole nother realm now too that is exploding. So
we've got the newly announced Echo Buds from Amazon that come in at $129.99, so $130. I have pre-ordered those because I am curious. They're the Microsoft Surface earbuds, which should be called the Microsoft Surface
dinner plates.
Dinner plates. Or Microsoft Surface gauges. That are $249. We've got Apple's AirPods, which start at $159 and go up from there if you get the wireless charging case, and then Google's Pixel Buds, which are at $159. And all of these different devices allow you to communicate with different assistants. So with the Echo Buds, obviously you're communicating with Amazon's voice assistant. With Microsoft, you are communicating with Cortana.
Yeah. Can you ask Cortana to use Google? Can't you do? You can do that in general, where you can ask Cortana to use Bezos.
Yeah, I
or
think
is it?
so.
I don't. It might be the other way around.
That's a whole other conversation,
Yeah.
actually. Microsoft is really trying to push Cortana as this device this assistant that is specific to creation with like productivity within Microsoft Office stuff. So it's a little bit different there. AirPods, of course, communicate with Siri, and the Google Pixel Buds communicate with Google's voice assistant, or what's called the Google Assistant. And it seems like everybody's trying to fill every hole every human has.
With the smart technology, yeah.
Yes, thank you for finishing that sentence for me. Yeah. Why? No, I don't think why is the right question. I know why. But maybe the question is, what is the question?
Yeah.
Are we going to, I mean, I foresee a future where we do have folks who are sort of tuned out from everything because they're just like,
it's like the movie Her. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
It's the movie Her. Yeah. Everybody's sort of tuned into their own little world. And here's where I sound like an old man now, right? I don't know, Matthew. What do you think? Am I old and I'm just wrong about this? I don't know.
I mean, on some level, I think they are trying to create just ubiquitous access to these. So anytime you're not in the home, chances are you don't have like an Echo device laying around somewhere with you, or like they're now doing more car-based stuff too, which is good. But there is, I mean, ideally you're not spending all your time in the car or at home, and being out and about, it is pretty convenient to do it hands-free, especially when you're in that realm where you might have something in your hand. Like even walking back from the grocery stores, I definitely use my AirPods to just start and stop music or something by triggering the assistant, because I just like have bags of groceries in my hands. So, I mean, and I like that you can always hear what the assistant is saying that way, and it's a little bit more personal. We didn't mention this with the Echo frames, but they have interesting downward facing speakers above like the parts that go over your ears, so that it's not actually like projecting. In theory, unless it's like a silent room, the people next to you won't hear it, but it'll still play it out loud. And there's like phone conduction headphones and stuff like that do something similar, but it does seem like, I mean, it all depends on how the culture does develop around it, because something like Her does get weird, but then there's also, we're all kind of in our own worlds already, maybe.
That's true.
So,
and I hate to, I don't, when I think about, there's, those not ads, but sort of comics that are showing, I'm an old man and I'm complaining about these kids not being, not talking to anybody anymore these days.
From their newspapers.
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of your cell phones. Yeah.
But, and here's the thing is that people that are looking at their newspapers are more just, it's them and, they're on their own little world. A lot of times people are communicating with their friends all over. And like my sister's sending me photos of what's going on with her right now. And so it isn't that you're disconnected. We're able to be connected to so much more now. And that's where I worry, like going from a place where right now, when I'm looking down at my phone, I am probably communicating with someone, be it for work or for play or for whatever, or if I am on Instagram, then I'm seeing something that someone I care about is doing. But if I go to a world where I do have these earbuds in, that feels more
like shutting out.
Shutting out. Yeah. That feels more back that way than it does, because it's me and this voice assistant that are doing everything together. And I get this, I have this need, it seems, to want to have it in my ears in order to always be able to use it. And that's kind of where I like I've been doing this a lot more recently, where there's the raise to speak option. In fact, it just triggered on my Apple Watch, where I can you lift up your wrist and you start talking to Apple's voice assistant, and it will do whatever it is that you're asking it to do. And I kind of like that because it's not blocking me off, but it's on my wrist where I always have it. I don't have to pull out my phone to do that or anything like that.
I think at least for specifically the earbuds is you don't have to strap it to your wrist all the time. Like, it doesn't have to be a style choice, or it's a little bit more like they are pretty pocketable, so you can kind of, I mean, I think a big thing just with these is take them out if you're talking with somebody. That's where it gets like, you see the photo of two people who meet up on the street corner and have a full conversation and never take out their AirPods or something. Yeah. And that's always, I think that's a little bit darker. I mean, I also think,
unless they're both speaking in different languages and using some sort of translation on the fly.
I mean, I think I would assume that the tech isn't good enough for us to just constantly drown out the world. Like, you can just listen to podcasts or music or something like that, but I don't think that's necessarily, that's just kind of headphones also. And yeah, it's interesting. I don't interact too much with the people who are like constantly wearing their AirPods, or it's more just they wear them and take them out, and they're not like, I'm like, did you say something to me, or are you talking to your smart assistant type of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that does happen a lot. Like, that's one of the reasons I like the hey shortcuts, but with the actual word, is that when I speak to my girlfriend, I don't just say her name. I'm like, hey, like, get over here. Or I don't know. You're like, hey, can you like listen to me for a sec? I want to say something and get their attention. So I think that it is like, is pretty interesting when just like if everybody has their little assistant talking back to them throughout the day.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it does seem like sort of table stakes and I think what's also hard is that like there's obviously overlap with AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePod, and then Echo Buds, then Main Echo, and like, oh yeah, the Echo Studio is their new HomePod competitor. We didn't really mention that, but if you don't have one of those products, then this totally fills the gap. Like Apple Watch was the first thing that got me to use Siri, but like as soon as AirPods 2 came out, I was like, well, everybody who doesn't like Apple Watch is probably going to just use their AirPods most of the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And actually one thing that is nice about just having your own earbuds is that I'm not sure with the other assistants, but it hears you and just that responds. So if you are in a place where there's smart speakers, you're not like turning on the house and yelling out to everything what's going on. So that is nice.
Well, normally we're shooting for about an hour on this show. And we're going a little bit over. And so I do want to go ahead and move on to the next subject here. We thought that it would be a good idea for Matthew and I to kind of talk about our home setups, and there will likely be more involved in this conversation as things change, because we both are kind of like serial upgraders / tinkerers / adding this, that, and the other. So we'll give updates on those, I think, when it happens. And what we may even do that I'm just now thinking about, so hold me to it, people who are listening. We have this excellent place. It's called twit.community. And it is our community platform. It's a forum where you can join and you can talk to us. The hosts are there, the contributors are there, and we've got pages for each of the different shows. So if you don't see this happen, remind me. But I think what we'll do is Matthew and I will eventually put up sort of our smart tech setups, particularly starting off at least with the stuff that we have in our homes, and go from there. So head to twit.community to sign up and stay posted for that on the Smart Tech Today page. So Matthew, you should go ahead first, because what I find fascinating, and I think what folks will find fascinating, is, I have all of the different smart assistants represented in my home, but it is not for the sake of like getting them all to work for specific things or work together. It is so that I can compare them. And so they all kind of do the same thing. but your setup is a little unique because you have things that they each specifically do. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your setup?
Sure. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing that, and also probably the space that I would recommend most people start is just like simple hue lights. That's at least, it seems to be like one of the major brands that has stayed the course of time too, which that is something to consider when you're buying smart tech. Is this company going to be around in 5 years or not? Because then your lights won't turn on. But usually I think sometimes the starter kits can go where you get the little base station that it syncs with and then 1 or 2 lights. And I have almost entirely just white lights. I didn't go for the colored ones, partially because I didn't want to, I think they're like $60 a pop. Yeah, so it's a little like, the 2 ones that I have, I inherited from Workflow actually when we closed down because we had lights that we used with that. And then I was like, dibs.
I'll be taking this.
Yes, actually, I might as well mention that now. That's how I also got a Sonos system and a second Sonos system from my old job that closed down.
Oh,
so
my word.
if your work is closing any offices, definitely pay attention to that because it's a pretty sweet way to pick up some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also, so I might have 18 hue lights. I have a lot.
Holy God.
I have it in every single room in lamps. I don't put any in the overhead lights. First of all, because you should not use overhead lighting if you have lamps because it looks terrible and you're constantly like looking at the shade underneath your eyelids and stuff. Like put lamps in your house. If you obviously you have to buy them all, and most houses have overhead lights installed, but
this is interior decorating.
Oh, I mean, but this
Cassinelli.
is all with smart lighting. It makes a huge difference. If you're constantly turning on the overhead one, it can be like pretty intense. But I have those in each of the rooms. I have the hue switch. What are they called? The like the buttons to be able to control the remotes, because that's when the lights.
hue dimmer switches.
But they're not like installed in the walls or anything. It's actually just a remote that sits on a plate. But that's really nice because when you go into somewhere like the kitchen or your bathroom, I mean, maybe we should get motion sensors, but it's like you want light right away. You don't want to say something out loud and have the assistant wait for it to turn it on. A lot of times we just want to walk into the kitchen and turn on the button real quick. But I've got all those lights. I have a light strip behind my desk and also behind the TV.
Now, is that the Philips Hue version?
Yes, that's also it. And those come with color, which is kind of nice. I think I did a Halloween theme, and now that I think about it, it's October again, so might have to get all my lights orange. And then on the desk, I also have a Hue Go is what it's called, and these are kind of like a little half circle that glows. It's kind of like a nice glowing light, but then you can angle it back towards the corner, and so I have that behind like a new plant that I just got on my desk.
Oh, nice.
Do plants count as smart tech?
Well, it depends on what you're doing with it. Does it water
yeah.
itself?
Yeah, maybe I should look into that. So I have an Echo Dot in the kitchen. I generally keep it there because you're around the food stuff that you might be reordering, and then that also I can ask it to play it on the Sonos that I have in there. I have a Google Home Hub, and then this is actually...
Is the hub the one that has the screen?
Yes. Okay. I think it's called the Nest Hub now. These are so good. And I mean, maybe this is the little bit of like anti-competitiveness that Google has, because this is a YouTube screen for me.
Yeah.
It's also a Google Photos like photo card just for my house, because that was one unexpected benefit. Was it's just like pretty nice to walk into your house and see like recent photos of your friends and family up on the screen. But then it's basically Google hasn't licensed access for YouTube to any like the Echo Show or anything like that.
Echo used to have it,
and
they said no. Yeah.
So being someone who makes YouTube videos, I try to watch those more on there, because oddly I like hate activating. Well, you can't even do picture-in-picture with YouTube on iPad. So that's pretty frustrating. But it's basically just like I was like, I need to watch more videos and get a little bit more inspiration. So I use that. I've got a HomePod. Logitech Pop is one of those little buttons that you can just press.
Logitech's Pop button. Yeah.
But I think it got broken and I haven't really set it up yet. And that's because I have NFC tags. I have like 40 maybe.
You were like
I was going crazy on Twitter.
Yeah, you instead of dollar bills, you had NFC tags.
Yeah,
You're just like soup. Let's stick them on everything we possibly can.
That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, they're what 40. You can spend $15 on Amazon and get 40 of these tags, and then, I mean, I'm sure people with Android phones are like,
we've been able to do that for years.
Yeah, but now you can use Siri Shortcuts can be triggered by NFC tags, and you just tap your phone to this little sticker, and then it'll run anything on your phone that can work with Siri. And so that's very cool. Mostly, it is just like a physical trigger with my phone to turn on and off the lights, and it has Shortcuts logic in there where if the light is on, turn it off, and if it's not on, turn it on, and stuff like that. So that is actually pretty cool. And then that's also something that I'll be exploring way further. I mean, I wasn't sure if like I have Apple TV. I'm an Xbox gamer, elite gamer. No, I'm just kidding. And then technically my TV is an Android TV because I won't go into it too much, but I have started to tap into the IP addresses of my TV, and then also my receiver has AirPlay, and so I can actually use Shortcuts to change like the HDMI input on my TV.
Oh wow!
Just like I found some magical way to do it. I have
You're
like
a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, exactly. I do have the CarPlay thing, which is that's pretty cool. Coming up here was nice.
Yeah.
I was trying to send you my ETA like we did the other. Oh, that's right. We got coffee. I just forgot that we did that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So 3 times.
We both forgot.
Yeah.
And then I just recently got a Qi charger for the first time because I refused to spend $60 on a slower method of charging. And so I found one that was like $40 and didn't look terrible. It's like a Mophie one from Apple's website. And
$20 less. Okay, now I'll do it.
Yeah, but it's like if trying to buy 2 Qi chargers for the house and spending $120 starts to be like, that wasn't really worth it.
Right.
And then I'd say, oh yeah, I do have 4 wall outlet plugs too. One turns on the video lights at my desk, so I can start a video and just ask Shortcuts, I guess Siri, but to turn it on for me, and that'll just like light me up nicely. And then I have an electric drum set, and that's pretty cool because I can basically run and tap my NFC card, and then that'll turn on the drums.
Oh,
and then start
neat.
playing the music from my playlist right away, so I can just be like, don't know what's coming and just start playing along.
So like your phone is your first drumstick, and you're like, boom, on the NFC tag. Then
just
you put that
smash against the cymbal and break at the phone.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that's excessive is that I have a vinyl record player, and then that has a digital audio converter that plugs into my Mac that can AirPlay to my HomePod.
That's
so
nice.
Basically, it's definitely a little bit manual, but you can get that nice crackly sound over the over expensive speaker that I
Yummy,
have.
that crackly sound of vinyl. It's so much more real.
I do want to get a home security system because we have had a couple packages stolen lately, which somebody returned the package that was empty, and I thought that was weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of like smart sensors and door lock type of thing. I think I have a weird door handle, but
that's
and then I live in an old home that can't do the temperature control, or it might be able to, but
it would involve a lot.
I don't want to burn the house down, so
Right.
I'm gonna let somebody else figure that out for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yes, that is my whole setup.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to go super in detail with mine for now. I think we'll save that for a future episode because I'm actually in the process of rebuilding my smart home. I moved to California at the beginning of August, at the end of July technically. And so a lot of my stuff is still not set up yet. I've set up some of my Echo devices. I've set up my HomePod is up, and Apple
do you function,
TVs. Right. How do I even survive?
You're just walking around in the dark and you can't turn
Where are these
all
switches?
the lights are off.
Yeah. So I have not had the chance because I like to have it perfectly set up in the perfect way that I like to have it. And so it involves me taking the time to do it. And there just hasn't been time to really like spend the moments to do it. So at some point I'm going to, sort of block out a weekend where instead of going out and doing fun things, I will stay at home and do a fun thing, which is set up my smart home. Yeah.
What's your like big one that you're looking forward to setting up?
I am very excited to have the same thing with you where you have your video lights. I have a whole setup. I had a whole setup in my office for when I do podcasts from home that do involve video. So most of those are like playing Total Party Kill, which is the Incomparables D&D podcast. Right now, it's just horribly lit for me, and I've just not had the chance to get those lights out and get them all set up and stuff. So I'm excited to have my office all automated first.
Just use your phone flash.
Anyway, it's because I do use Hugo's. That's what I have right now, but it doesn't compare to those video lights. Yeah. So yeah, we will talk about my setup whenever it's finished, and you can get the full rundown of that. But it was interesting to hear about yours. Let's go ahead and move on to answer a couple questions and also our picks of the week before we say goodbye today. So we'll start with my pick of the week, which is Amazon, of course.
I was going to say, this is the one you wanted to get set up first.
Yes, exactly. I had to get this set up before anything else. Amazon at its recent event, they were showing some of the things that work with Amazon work with ALEXA. There are several things out there that work with ALEXA. And by several, I mean many things. And so they wanted to show off some of the things that do. And one of these things was an animatronic bear that synced its mouth, speaking with the actual Echo device as it communicated. But then if you played Amazon Music with it, then the music was synced up while it danced. But it doesn't just do any normal kind of dancing. It does the millennials' favorite dance. I don't know if that's the case, but it twerks. It's called Gemmy the Twerking Bear. And I did a review of Gemmy the Twerking Bear that I have to say, I will never be an elected official now, but is easily one of the funniest things I've ever taken part in.
The teaser got me so good. It's just what's that song?
It's a Beethoven song, I think. That's something else, isn't it? Yeah, it's some classical song. Anyway, you've got to check it out. We'll include a link in the show notes. We did it for Hands on Tech, which is another Twitch show that you should check out. And so you can see everything you need to know about Gemmy the Twerking Bear, including where to get one, how much it costs, and why you should have one, because I only paid $10 for it. It's only $10. And I think right now it's available for like $13 or something. So you might as well get one. I mean, why not? Anyway, a lot of fun. And that has to be my pick of the week because it works with Amazon's voice assistant. Nice. So what about you, Matthew?
I'd say my pick of the week is something that I've been looking forward to for a while. And there is a bit of Apple beta bugginess mixed up, but Siri Shortcuts.
Apple beta bugginess. Yes. Apple beta bugginess.
Siri Shortcuts work on the HomePod now. So in previous years, or just last year, I guess, Shortcuts, you could trigger what were standalone Siri Shortcuts and they would sort of perform one task for you. And that was cool. But Siri Shortcuts itself was slightly limited where you couldn't really customize those actions. But in iOS 13.1.2, which is like the 25th update of iOS 13 already.
Yes.
It's been a little mad, but they fixed the connection between the HomePod and your phone. And this actually just updates your phone, not the HomePod itself. I saw some people who were like, my HomePod's still on 12.4, and that's supposed to happen. But it's basically a voice trigger system for the shortcuts on your phone. But the big thing is that all of the scripting actions and shortcuts work via the HomePod now. So you can have full conversations with Siri where you ask a question and she reads something back to you, and you can dictate text that gets used into that shortcut. So
really,
it's basically the HomePod got maybe its biggest update ever, not the multiple voice recognition that it's going to get, but just complete expansion of Siri Shortcuts capabilities in a bug fix update. It's like it was supposed to be the iOS 13 release and it just didn't work. And so I think nobody talked about it. And now it's like shortcuts fully work on the HomePod. And this is Apple completely expanding the like equivalent of skills for their users who want to buy the HomePod. And it's me personally, I've had a HomePod and I've almost been like waiting I wanted to do something else. And now shortcuts can, but it's very cool. there's tons of opportunity there. And so I will be sharing more in the future.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Now we have some questions already that have been sent to, and by the way, if you would like to send in your questions, your feedback, you can email us at, I believe it is STT. It is, I don't believe it is STT@twit.tv. So if you have questions that you want or answered, or some sort of smart tech problem that you want solved, hit us up, STT@twit.tv, and your question might make it onto the show. Matthew, you want to tell us what this first one is asking about?
So this main question that I actually saw a lot after iOS 13 launched was, how do I add Siri shortcuts from somebody else into my library? Because I put out on my website a collection of like over 150 Siri shortcuts, which is, some people are like, that's way too much. Like, great, but I need less. But basically, if you're brand new to shortcuts and you haven't run anything, there's a settings trigger that you have to turn on that's called allow untrusted shortcuts, and then you'll be able to add shortcuts from iCloud links that people share. And you even have to scroll past every single action in a shortcut and then tap a big red button that says add untrusted shortcut in order to add it. Like they've completely locked down the security stuff. But the big thing is, like, if you do find a bunch of shortcuts but you've never used anything before, you have to run a couple shortcuts first, and then that setting will appear in the settings app. And so it's a little like, they really don't want people to just suddenly get shortcuts from somewhere else and then get hacked or something. Not hacked, but like have something happen they weren't expected. And so you have to explicitly have run some shortcuts, go into settings and turn on the toggle, and then even type in your passcode, I think.
Wow,
so it's like, it's really pretty serious.
Locking things down.
But that's, if anybody is like finding shortcuts, it doesn't really tell you exactly where to go. So that is, a lot of people have been confused.
All right. Steve from Cincinnati says, I'd like to set up the following as an automation/shortcut with the new iOS 13.1 on my iPhone 11 Pro. I currently wake up at 7 on some days and 7:30 on other days due to scheduling, and those days change each week, so I can't just set a repeat alarm for specific days. I would like to have 2 NFC tags, Matthew, on my nightstand that I can tap my phone to. One would automatically turn off all of my alarms except for the 7 a.m. one, and the other tag would obviously do the same but for the 7:30 alarm. Can Steve from Cincinnati do this?
Yes. Thankfully, they added in iOS 13 an action that's called Get All Alarms. And so previously you were able to set an alarm or a timer and stuff like that using the clock app, but you couldn't interact with one that already existed. And so you can then get the alarm, and I think the way you would do it is there's an action called Repeat with Each, which allows shortcuts to kind of go through each alarm and check whether or not it's the right one. And then you could do an if action that's, if it's 7, then turn it on and then the rest off. And then if this other one, especially since you have 2 separate tags, that does make it easier. You don't have to like build the logic into one. But I will share a link in the show notes for Steve here, because these are great. Like, especially having NFC tags on your bedside table is a great one.
Oh, that's
like,
so cool.
You could do like, I mean, I have other ones, not maybe less specific than this, but like when the sun rises, I get a weather report so that I can, it doesn't actually run it for me, but I can just tap it then when I'm ready and like check what the weather is for the day. But yeah, these would be really good. And another quick tip for NFC tags is stick them on the bottom side of ledges, because then they're not visible, but you can just kind of tap your phone to it versus having like a bunch of little white dots all around your bedside table. Yeah,
well, see, I personally like a polka dotted bedside table, so cool for me. But definitely, if you want to sort of hide away your polka dots like some kind of fool, you can stick them underneath.
I've seen someone who made like a whole, it's just like a document with different NFC tags, like 15 of them with just little labels, so that he can just like pull up this page and do a bunch of different things without like running around the house to find your NFC tag. It's kind of like a home screen of NFC tags.
That's interesting, but then I would just rather just tap in the shortcut, like tap the shortcut that's on my phone.
It's less, I think that's what's interesting about this NFC specifically. And I guess now that I think about it, I don't think I ever said that it means near field communication. So these are like little wires that you have to tap the top left corner of your phone. Like they're so near field that if you use the right corner, it won't actually work. But it'll be interesting to see what's actually useful over time. Like, I think those types of bedtime ones are
that
good.
One makes sense.
And it becomes like muscle memory then. It's just like left or right, not like I'm going to go in and toggle all the different alarms and sit there and switch them off.
Absolutely.
So that's a great one.
For these multiple step kind of things, absolutely. We are going to save the other feedback or questions that we have for next time. But folks, if you want to have your questions answered, then you send those to stt@twit.tv and we will help you with those. I am excited to try out this NFC stuff for sure. But that is actually going to do it for us, Matthew. We, of course, record the show live. It's going to be every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. That's 2300 UTC. You can head to twit.tv/live, and that will show you all the places. We are streaming live across the platforms, but we said that Twitch is going to be the place where we are interacting with folks. I apologize again for the little hiccup that we had. I believe that we got it figured out. Shout out to Beatmaster for being in there and making things work how they need to. Thank you so much for that. And so you can head to twitch.tv. That's twitch.tv/twit to be a part of the conversation there. We are still experimenting and trying that stuff out. So we're gonna see you there. And I was
going to say, I will make, and look for this in the show description, I will make a series of shortcuts that you can use to join in on the live stream when it's time.
Oh my God.
And maybe we could even, I might not have it ready today, but by next episode, I'll have a blog post explaining how to set up an automation to go off every Monday at 4 p.m. just to tune in.
Well, there you go. I hope someone's been taking note for all of Matthew's assignments because he gave himself quite a few. I bet Siri's out there paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. They're always listening now.
Matthew, if people want to follow you online, check out your work and see all of your awesome automation stuff, where do they do that?
Generally, I use my name across all of my stuff. My YouTube channel is probably the biggest thing that I'm driving people towards, and it's just Matthew Cassinelli. It's CASSINELLI. And then on Twitter, it's Matt Cassinelli because I don't have enough characters to fit my whole name in. Aww. But then also my website is MatthewCassinelli.com.
Awesome. If you're looking for me online, you can find me at Mikah Sargent on pretty much all the social things, or head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUAHUA.coffee, which has links to all of those different pages. Of course, you want to subscribe to the show. You want to check out the next episode and the many more after that. We've already got some interviews getting lined up, which is exciting. Talking to some really cool people in the smart tech field. And we really do appreciate you being here for episode number 1. We're looking forward to your feedback. Remember to head to twit.community to check out our page and leave your feedback there. But head to twit.tv/STT because that'll give you links to all the different places where you can subscribe. Once again, that's twit.tv/STT. That's Smart Tech Today. And it will give you links to the different places where you can subscribe to our show. Matthew Cassinelli, we've done it again. I guess it's time to tell our voice assistants good night.
Good night, Bezos.